Hello and welcome. I'm your host, author Ryan M. Oliver, and this is the Mighty Books Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Mighty Books Podcast. Today with me, my guest author is Dante Terese. Dante, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. So we're here to talk about your book. What is the title of your book?
Well, actually, the title of the series
Ooh, the series.
is The
Yes,
Base.
the base.
And the first book, which is out of the series, is called The Base Book One.
All right. Very good. And what is the base in a synopsis so you don't give it away? Because it's fiction, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to give it too much away, but what is the synopsis of the book? If they were to turn the book around and take a read, what may they find?
Okay. So the synopsis pretty much is that the base is like if you're a military scientist and you're working in some base around the country or something like that, the base is where they're going to send you when they find out that you're a little too good.
Oh, a little
Yes,
too good.
if you are
Who's too
a
much?
little too smart and if you're really good at what you do and
Yeah.
everything like that, someone's going to tap you on the shoulder and you're not going to get the traditional transfer that you get every 3 years. You're going to be going to that base.
Oh, no.
But it's not all bad because at that base, you are going to be working with the elite scientists, the super geeks, the people who live and breathe their passion. And some of them have a really narrow area of expertise, but they live it and breathe it. They've been obsessed with it since they were like 5 months old. And so you're going to be working with these folks to do super top secret, ahead of their time inventions.
Dang. Okay.
But there's a couple of really gnarly spies and thieves out there that know that if there's anything coming out of that base, they want it because they're going to be able to resell it. They're going to be able to, they're going to have, there's a market for that.
Yeah, there's
They
a
know it.
purpose. Yeah, they can
So,
repurpose that.
yes. And so so that's pretty much the synopsis of not just the book, but of the series. It's this cat and mouse game between these super intelligent military scientists and the spies and thieves that seek to steal ideas from them and steal the projects they make from them.
Okay. Now, how did you come up with this idea? What was the inspiration behind this storyline? What was the inspiration for you? What made you think of this?
Okay, a lot of things. I am the daughter of a research scientist.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. There's a little bit of roots right there.
And I do know, even though that was not my profession, but I'm a baker and pastry chef, which is we're the geeks in the kitchen. We're not the
True.
people who just add a pinch of this and
No, baking is a science. Like
yes,
I am a decent cook. I am not a good baker.
Okay. No, we're the geeks in the kitchen. We're the ones who weigh
Absolutely.
everything, and then we
Yes.
have all these scientific notions about food and stuff. We drive
100%.
chefs crazy because like we have our spices in alphabetical order. And these guys just pinch a handful of something off the line, they throw it in the pan and it works. I mean, I'm not knocking it, but we're the ones that are hyper clean, hyper organized, and kind of they make fun of that is until they, stick their teeth into a decadent brownie or something like that. So yes, I'm part scientist. I'm just, I didn't do what my father did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even in kitchens, you have espionage.
Stealing recipes?
Yes. So even in
Yes.
kitchens, you have that cat and mouse game going. So, and then, I've heard from, legitimate research scientists in different fields and stuff, that goes on there too. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
And so the different types of science and scientists, that sort of intrigued me. Because when you have a scientific mind, you are pretty much intrigued by everything, and you're always trying to figure out all these little puzzles and
Right.
such. And so I thought, wouldn't it be fun if you got these scientists, like they never know who's going to come walking through that door. And like, okay, now you have to work with this dude and you have to invent something with him. And then the army, that's another fun thing in the series. The army every couple of months or so is going to hand you a top secret folder, and in that folder is going to be the requisition for the next invention and
Okay.
the specifications, a spec sheet, we'll call it.
Right.
And it will list all of the attributes that this thing has to have. So not only do you have to work with people that are, sometimes a little quirky.
Mm-hmm.
Can we say that? I mean,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
a geek, but I'm a little quirky and I
We all have our
recognize that.
quirks. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, I mean, the three or however many of you there are, for a lot of the time in the first book, there's three. You have to create this invention that hits all of these attributes. Like, for instance, we'll say temperature requirements,
Right.
that it needs to go from -40 up to 190, because those are the type of degrees that you could have happening in a tank in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
So if you stored this thing inside a tank in the desert out there, it would obviously need to be able to function and not melt
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And not
through a
freeze.
yeah, through a desert night and day. Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a whole list of attributes. Some of them are pretty funny, but you gotta nail it, man. You gotta make that thing work. And
Yes. Yeah.
and then as you are trying to do your job and make this thing to their specifications and meet the deadline on it, hmm, is that guy in the other lab, is he like trying to copycat some of your stuff, or is he staying after to clean the coffee off the countertop there, or is he staying after because he's waiting for you to leave because he wants to snatch something? Uh-huh.
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 A little bit of
But
mystery
the
there.
it isn't the it's people fighting with their minds mostly. It
Mm,
isn't the traditional American arsenal, like if you watch a lot of movies and stuff where it's just, hey, let's pull a trigger.
yeah.
That to me is, I'm over it. I'm just kind of
It's
bored
it's
with
had
it.
its place, got its place, but it's a bit overused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like the scientists when they fight with their minds. Like, I don't want to spoil the whole surprise, but
No, don't.
one
Yeah.
of them is a military entomologist, and that is
Oh,
an expert on insects.
yes.
And so you can imagine he's got a pretty good arsenal to fight with.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and that could sort of lead to a little off the beaten path things happening there. And yes, and it doesn't take too much imagination when you're looking at, say, for example, a helicopter,
Yeah.
and then you look at a dragonfly and you say, I wonder if someone was inspired by that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of other examples out there that we can think of where
Yeah.
you look at something and you say, you know what, I bet they had got the idea from this.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Da Vinci got his a lot of inspiration from watching the birds,
Yes.
watching the birds and the insects, and a lot of scientists have just taken a step back. Oh, what is nature already telling me? What have they already accomplished that we're trying to accomplish? Well, flight was one of them. And I mean, you look at a bunch of the drawings that he did. There's some hokey drawings. There's some strange, but then there are some ones that made sense. We didn't have a way to, okay, we're going to stand on top of a three-story building and fly off and see if we can. Injuries usually incur
Yeah.
from things like that. But I mean, you have to be able to dream and pull from observations. So it makes sense that you're pulling from things as dynamic and hardy as an insect for potentially, military applications. I can absolutely microtech. I could see that
Well,
being used.
it's the world's oldest profession.
Yeah.
Okay, we already know what the world's oldest profession, but the world's oldest profession is, if you're going to invent something, well, steal the idea from, that's already out there. You know what I'm saying?
You look at mythology. I mean, well, Prometheus stole fire, so okay, well, we got it from him. So he got it from Zeus. Okay, well, we've been stealing stuff forever, all the way back to mythology, huh?
Yeah, you
Way
could
back.
trace it back to cave drawings.
Yeah, yeah, cave drawings and Hey, he's got what is that thing in his hand? It's a club. I want that. I'm gonna take that now. And now this is my invention. Oh yeah, we beg, borrow, and steal all the time. That's I mean, and then you also have seen throughout history where we've made something, a prototype, and then someone takes that same idea but enhances it. Someone takes that idea, enhances it, makes it better and better and better and better. I mean, the automobile is a great example. A lot of military attributes.
Yes.
So I can see that going many moons, many different avenues with a research scientist based fiction. So, I mean, with this, how many different kinds, three different kinds of science are you diving into, or is there a whole plethora?
No, no, because because it is like it starts out with these two scientists awaiting the arrival of the next one.
Yeah.
And like most workplaces or apartment buildings or whatever, you await the new arrival with a combination of hope and dread.
Ain't that the truth? Oh my
Yes.
God, that's
Yes.
so
One
true.
never knows, you
Uh,
know. Yes. And
yes,
so they're awaiting the new arrival with their mixed emotions.
absolutely.
And then they're all called into the meeting and they get their top secret envelopes and they get to with the base commander and they get to open up their envelope and look at that spec sheet and see what they are going to be working with their new arrival with. And there she goes. And round it goes.
I know from just experience with just working with different crews on jobs, the personalities can be vastly different. And then you add the quirkiness of just straight up intelligence and let's just say borderline obsession with certain topics of conversation, topics of subject matters.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of fun writing the dialogue for the characters you've got?
I had a lot of fun with that, but I'm actually adapting it right now into a screenplay,
Oh,
which,
cool.
yeah, which means that you get to expand on some of the attributes and stuff because everyone always complains that the book isn't exactly like a screenplay or what you're seeing. And there's a lot of good reasons for that. Like,
There is.
yes. And so there are some things that just gotta go. I mean, they they connect paragraphs together and they work really, really well in a book, but they just don't translate to watching it.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that I think at least from my own personal experience, when they go so hard away from the story of the original source, that kind of drives me crazy.
Right.
But having some liberal, little what do you call it? Fluidity in the creative process and going from paper to film kind of has to be just to tell the story correctly, or at least in a way that people can digest it for the 2 hours probably even less. Then you have a, let's say 300-page book. There's so much detail that you have to eliminate, move around that is not necessarily pertinent to the main story archetype. So it's you have to pick and choose. Otherwise, you have 4 or 5 hour movies, which would be kind of cool, but it would be very challenging to get through, and theaters wouldn't like
Well,
that very much
well,
either.
also, I mean, when you're making a character for the screen,
Yeah.
you really have to make them more three-dimensional.
Oh yeah.
Like, what do they wear all the time? What are their mannerisms? Does this guy have a little nervous tick or something?
Sure.
And fleshing it out to film, the characters have to be, completely three-dimensional. They can't be stick figures anymore.
No, they can't.
And so, so when this guy enters the room, it's him. He always wears like this sort of genre of clothing and he listens to the back in the day music to match it,
Yeah.
you know, and you sort of have all these attributes. And when I started with the software that you use to do the standard software that you use to do screenplays,
Yeah.
it was a rough transition because I mean, they demand things be done in a certain way. Like if a
Okay.
character is going to speak, their name is in the center of the page, and then what you and I would call a parenthesis called a parenthetical, and the
Um,
contents of it used to describe these specific things that are going on at the time and stuff. So there's this whole new vocabulary and whole new everything. And then, that got a little crazy. But then you get then it starts to get fun because you want to describe like how dingy is that bathroom. and, and and then you know and this guy only listens to like the same four songs all the time and stuff like that. I mean, you really get to color it in much more, and it's a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
A lot of, oh, I imagine. So what, is it a group of you guys making this, the film you guys want to make, or it's just you right now working on the screenplay, and then what's the project looking like? Where's its status at right now?
Okay, status is the sequel is with the proofreader.
Okay.
We did a new cover
Book
for the
two. Book
book
two.
that,
Okay.
yes, but we
Okay.
did a new cover for the first book, which I sent to you.
Yep, I got it.
There are three actors on
Okay.
the cover of that book who are portraying the three lead scientists in that book.
Awesome.
And we managed to get, I mean, I put out so many feelers. I wanted to get a Jeep in the picture, but I didn't want one of the newer ones, the bubblegum color, whatever. I wanted a military Jeep.
Sure.
And after several weeks of trying to get a Jeep, I wound up getting two actual military Jeeps, one that was in World War II, and the other one from 1951.
Close enough.
Yeah. And so they're on the cover with the actors,
Nice.
and we took scads of pictures. So the sequel will have pictures from that as well. These guys have starred in other things before, and I can totally picture them, in the roles. And so I'm working to try to get that all to happen. The first part, as you know, is transferring it into a screenplay. You just can't tell people to wing it.
I don't have a lot of experience with screenplays. I've talked to two or three others who have started to adapt their stories to screenplays, and it sounds like it is a absolute job. It is a task. So
It is, but you just have to. It's interesting. They tell you that if something's an hour long, you've got like 40 minutes
yeah.
because, commercials and such. And the last 2 minutes has to make someone want to tune in next week.
Okay, yes. So is it going to be a short film? This will be a short film, or are you gonna
Yeah.
how long are you gonna make this?
I'm looking at a series right now.
Okay, okay. Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely serious.
yeah, and yeah, in other words, so people could, you know, tune in every week. And that helps to clarify things and set up the
Oh
scenes
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but it is a lot of fun
Well,
imagining it and everything.
oh my God, yeah. And then you see it come to fruition. That's even more fun too. So do you have to
I
get a
hope
lot
so.
of do you guys have to get a lot of people together for like lighting and everything like that, all the back behind the scenes stuff, or you guys gonna manage it all? Because I mean that's still that's even more work. But
It
that's
is. I'm hoping, I'm reaching out to some existing film companies and
great.
stuff. So I'm knocking on doors. I'll keep knocking on doors.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you just gotta get one yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it is. You can get 400 no's as long as you get one yes. That's the
Hmm.
move in the right direction. A lot of people got their start from just being persistent. But for so book two is when actually first off, when did book one come out?
Book one was actually published, I think, on July 3rd.
Oh, so it's brand new.
It really is
Brand new. Well, that's
brand new.
congratulations
And
on that.
yeah, and it just had the cover updated
Mhm.
with the actors and the Jeeps.
Great.
So let me see. And it is currently being recorded for an audiobook.
Fantastic. You're doing all the right things.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when that is done, then we'll figure out a release date for the sequel.
Mhm.
And but in the meantime, we'll still knock on doors
Yeah.
um, for trying to get the screenplay optioned.
That's awesome. Now, is book two in production right now? Are you currently writing that, or what's the status of book two?
Book two is done and copyrighted.
Oh man, you're cruising. You're just
Yeah,
moving.
it just was wickedly fun because
Oh,
I mean there were some characters I had that were twisted, and then you know how it is when you're an author, you get to kill people. you can't do that in real life, but
No,
you
I mean you
know,
can, but
and
it's just frowned upon.
right. But yeah. So I
Not this
mean,
year. No,
yeah,
I get it. I totally get it.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So I
Uh-huh.
mean, had a lot of fun. What happened was is when I wrote the first book and when I put it out, a lot of people that had access to me and stuff were saying they were very attached to one character, the Bugman, the entomologist.
Yes.
And they said, you know, they didn't want to just see it end right there. They wanted to, you know, don't kill the Bugman. Let's see what happens, you know. And these are people that hire like pest control people to go through their buildings and stuff. And they're telling me not to kill the Bugman. That made it even more funny. But anyway, so I decided, okay, I'm going to write a sequel. And
Mhm.
I had too much fun with it because
That's
you
great.
have to get another scientist. And what's that one's expertise going to be?
How much research are you doing for all these different scientists? Are you having to kind of dive deep and understand some of the
Yes.
scientific theories and policies, proceed, however they research, whatever you call it, like data research and all of
The,
that?
the person I was afraid of reading it the most was my father because he was an actual research scientist and
Sure.
he was going to pick through that and he was not going to show any mercy,
Mm-mm.
you know. And so anyway, so when I wrote it, I was doing tons of research. It's not acceptable to say that these people are at this military base in this specific region and that they have this spider with them when that spider is only seen in sub-Saharan Africa.
Right.
You have to be like completely accurate with everything you put in there. And I would be sitting there up into the wee hours, you know, shopping for spiders when I was doing research and stuff, you know.
Uh, your browser history must be hilarious and terrifying all at the same time.
Well, I think the FBI would just have too much fun with it because I'm also looking up, how much of this would that person need to die?
Yeah.
And things like
Uh,
that because,
yeah.
and because these it's a military invention and they have to make
That's
sure
something
that
they
their thing
calculate.
works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something they calculate. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you have entomology. What other kind of brands, or you don't have to go into it if you don't want to, but what other branches of sciences are you going into?
Oh, there are several. I mean, there is one who does robotics.
Oh, cool. Well, that makes sense. That makes a lot of
Yes.
sense. Robotics
Yeah.
are a thing. Bugs and robotics. I can definitely see. That's where my mind was going.
Okay.
Micro robotics or something like that. I could definitely see that. Nanotech, maybe. I don't know. I know very little about that stuff. I'm sure you can play all sorts of cool ideas.
Well, there was one who was very, very proficient in artificial cartilage
Oh,
and
cool.
to the point that it can't have a rejection. Now, this would be wonderful. It's not just the countries that are our adversaries that would want something like that. I think the medical community would want that.
Mm,
Can you imagine instead of having a knee replacement, just getting an injection?
yeah, an injection.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
Uh,
be nice.
yeah.
Lot
You
less
know,
recovery, all the better. I think we're going that way because it sounds like from various scientists I've even listened to. I'm like, that sounds kind of cool. Go directly into the injury location, and over time, things rebuild, cells rebuild and grow, and that's not out of the ordinary. That's actually like we might be
well,
seeing this in the future.
I was very, very interested when I was doing the research on things because I knew I would have to pass the dad test, but
Yeah.
also for my own self, I want the readers, I don't want to make something fantastical. I want to make something that if there are people in the audience who are proficient in that, it would be plausible.
Okay.
But and that they couldn't really poke a lot of holes into it. I wanted
Right.
to, give them that too. But I was just amazed at how many of the things that I was looking up are like in development.
Oh yeah.
There's so many races, like development races. Like there are human clone races going on, which is a little scary.
A little bit. A little bit.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about sheep being cloned when I was like in high school. I'm like, what are we? How close are we to human cloning? And I mean, that was, a while back. But I mean, what? Where? I want to go to these places and check this out. Like, there's so many questions that we
Well,
have.
the robotics thing, when I was doing research on that, my friend's mother had a cancerous kidney.
Mhm.
And so she needed to get that removed. And so she went to the hospital and they informed her that the robot was going to do the surgery.
Wow.
Yeah,
What the heck? The robots go to the surgery.
true story. So she had, so she, they showed her this very special sort of adapted kind of chair. Naturally, there are humans that are overseeing this,
Of course.
but still the robot is the one who's, extracting your kidney.
You don't
So
have
I
any
mean, there's
tremors in robots.
yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So there's all kinds of stuff that's going on out there. I mean, you don't need to wear tinfoil anymore. You can just see what's happening.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God. Well, that's kind of cool to play with. So, other than your dad to kind of play do the sniff test, did you have other friends or family who were reading the books prior?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
See, that's how I got into it because I would write stuff and I would send it, to send it to people. And finally, a few of my friends just said, you need to take the plunge. I mean, you need to release this. Just do it.
Oh, okay. So you're just
And
doing it for
so
fun at first.
yeah, I mean, I didn't have enough of the courage, I guess you could say, to dive into the pool.
Oh yeah,
But after, people just egging me on and saying, just do it. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? I mean, sometimes you go to the library and you take out something and it's not your cup of tea. But just do it, you know.
exactly.
And so I'm doing it.
Nice. Sometimes peer pressure is a good thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, it really can be. This is constructive, good, healthy peer pressure. Not like the other stuff they talk about in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, way better than that. So, okay, so how long did it take you to actually get book one first draft finished? Was it a long time coming, or did you get it done pretty quick?
No, the first half of that book is something that I carried in my head for a very long time.
Okay.
And and after I put out an earlier book,
Hmm.
which I did during the never-ending blizzard seasons of South Dakota,
Okay.
where you are either going to lose your mind or you're going to have to do something so you don't
Right.
lose your mind. Then I decided I was going to spit out that book onto paper
Okay.
that I've been carrying in my head. I have a very crowded head. A lot of a lot of people do.
A lot of creative people definitely do. 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, I spit that out. Then I decided to write the second half of the book after I spit the first half out. The first half, I think it just took me 3 days to type it.
Wow.
And then I spit the second half out, and then you have to go through it to do things that writers are supposed to do, like look for typos and
Mm,
stuff. And because I mean, it's not enough just to tell a story, it's enough to tell a story that people can actually read and not be distracted by,
yeah.
that you've spelled this word three different ways.
It's time consuming too. It is so time consuming. And you can go over it 14, 15 times and you can still miss something. That's the crazy
Yeah.
part. That's the
Well,
crazy part.
I'm really lucky that I have a really good friend who, at one point in her life, and she's had so many careers, but at one point in her life, she was a professional proofreader,
Oh, great.
and she did read it, and she did give me honest criticism, and which included, you have two commas after this word on page 17 or whatever, and I was able to fix the things that I missed,
Hmm. Good.
because I'm not a proofreader. And especially when you're the writer, it's you can do so much, but there's some things that you just have a brain block on.
Well, right, and it doesn't help that you're so close to the story already too. So if there's a
Yeah,
storyline issue, even if it's super, super small, I mean, we're talking like, if a character has blue eyes in this scene and then later on you told it has brown eyes in that scene, it's like, oh, well, we'll fix that. But I mean, even grammatically wise, anything big, you get so kind of burnt out by reading the story over and over again, you need fresh eyes
Yes.
to look at the, see the trees through the forest, if you will. You just can't after a while. It's just so hard. It becomes part of the scenery. Everything becomes part of the scenery. It's like, oh, it's all supposed to be there. I don't have to change anything. It's perfect now.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Wishful thinking.
I guarantee you there's at least half a dozen, if not more, things that need fixing. It's just how it is. But then, you have to finally pull the trigger and go, when is enough enough? Is it polished
Yes.
enough? Let's just move on. If we catch an error, big whoop. I've caught dozens of little tiny errors in so many books I've read, and it's such a minor thing. It's just because my eye is attuned to it now with doing my own stuff that I'll find 1 to 3 errors per book. It doesn't matter. Traditionally published ones too. It doesn't matter. It's just so hard to find, but at least still getting things out there. I mean, you're moving. So you got book one and book two, and then so how is it going to be a trilogy?
I'm thinking about it because the the proofreader who I'm going to speak with this weekend, who has just finished proofreading book two, asked me, "Hey, you're not going to kill this one in the next one, are you?" And that's usually how it starts. Like people say, "Hey, you're not going to do that to," and then you say to yourself, "Oh, okay. I think this means, but I do have ideas. I'd be lying to you if I told you I didn't have ideas because there's so many little specialties in science.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's easy to come up with another scientist and stuff.
So it's basically you have the same couple scientists in each book, and then you have a new one that gets introduced almost every time. Is that kind of how the structure is?
Well, yeah, it kind of some of them come and go, but
Okay. Okay.
the core three are.
They're
It
there.
started off with two, but then the third one joined.
Yeah.
The core three are definitely there for book one and book two, and some of the villains come and go.
Okay.
But there's just one that is just so super evil and just comes up with so many different ways of being evil. Like
Nice.
if you were to have like a nice person will say, for example, donate to a charity, and they won't even write their name on it or everything. They'll just throw like a 20 in the hat or whatever and
Right.
walk away. But some villains, like they're not going to put one dime in that hat without a press release and without 50 cameras on it, and you know what I'm saying,
The
that they
very
right.
vain type of people. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're never going to do anything even marginally good, even if they take that dime back after the camera's cut. They're never going to do anything unless there's something in it for them
Yeah. What's in it
and
for me?
stuff.
I'll help you, but you have to help me. Like, that's not how this is supposed to work.
But it's kind of funny, just and on the one hand, it was hard to get into the villain's head and be like, well, what would this person do in this situation and stuff. But then there were times where that got to be a little fun.
Oh, I'm sure it did. I actually really like writing for my villains. I
Yeah.
really do. It's like this is awful. I love it. Let's just
Yeah.
start
Yeah. Like, could you
writing more.
possibly be more evil?
Yeah, yeah. I'm like,
And
I would never do this. This is so fun. And you just keep it flowing and going until is there ever a moment you're like, I can't write this. This is awful, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Probably not. I mean, it's a
no,
supervillain. They're supposed to be evil. That's the point.
well, it's a balancing act when you're talking about some of the villains. Like, let's say they have been and they just have tremendous financial rewards for what they're doing because they're not
Okay.
doing what you and I do and pay taxes, you know, and some of the other things that us lowly peons have to do.
Hmm.
Villains just kind of bypass all of that. And
Yeah.
sometimes they have accrued tremendous wealth and all the trappings, a lot of material things, but it's a bit of a balancing act. You want to make sure that you portray them, but you also want to make sure that you don't glorify them
No, totally.
because they have all these material things. But sometimes what I found was good is that you can contrast them
Hmm.
with someone who has just insane natural abilities and talents and intelligence. And then be like, okay, well, who would you rather live next door to?
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to make them relatable to a point. You have to make everybody relatable to a point, but
yeah,
they have to have extra qualities that definitely not what you want in a neighbor or a friend or anything like that. And it's fun to show those people who have usually all like the villains who have all this power or like you said, material possessions. But then you look down, like go to the core of that person and they are super lonely. You peel back the onion. They're super lonely. They're usually pretty damaged. They've got all sorts of problems and they're really unhappy people. But because they're so vain and proud, on the outside they look like they're just living their best life. So it kind of like you said, that three-dimensional,
right.
you can really explore that, I feel like, very easily with villains. Sometimes more so than some heroes because they're so noble. A lot of the time, sometimes they're a little more damaged, but I don't I've always enjoyed writing for villains. It's just it's probably the most fun I can have with writing the book. But anyway,
Yes.
yeah, good stuff. So, what feedback have you gotten from your readers so far? I mean, I know it's just come out a couple, not even 2 months, 3 months, 3 months.
July
Two,
4th.
oh my gosh. So yeah, 2.5, almost three.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow.
Um, well, Pete, the feedback I'm getting, I mean, and as you know, as a writer, no one leaves reviews.
I know. It's very, very
Yeah,
few, very few.
very
It
few.
takes a long
So
time.
so it's usually the people who, can reach out to you on Facebook and
That's good.
the other things like that that tell you stuff. And they had a lot of fun with it.
Good. Good.
They're just like, this is it breaks from any sort of traditional formula. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's
And
nuts. I like that. It's
yeah,
nuts.
yeah.
As long as the story, you can follow the story, you got good characters, you're winning. You're
Mhm.
winning. Yeah, and that's good. It's not just the like it's not the shoot 'em up type
No,
action military. It's what goes behind the scenes, really.
yeah.
Yeah, the experimental, because I don't think there's usually the experimental scientists play a very minor role, or they're like like I think of James Bond, like Q and James Bond. They're the ones in the background who are making all the cool things for the agent to go do. It's never usually hyper focused on,
Yeah,
Q and
they're
his
always
crew.
behind the curtain.
Yeah, yeah.
They're always like supporting actors or
Yes.
things like that. And so to have them sort of be the forefront, is a little different. And for part of the book, it's told through the eyes of their kids,
Oh, cool.
the young
Okay.
kids. And that gives you sort of a child's eye view into this base.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
neat.
yeah, where all of these quirky characters are, and the parents are trying to raise good kids in a not so perfect world. So that can be at times pretty funny that they're trying to pile on the euphemisms when something is happening and the kids happen to overhear or notice that something's going on. They try to sort of steer the kids attention away a little bit and then find a teachable moment like, well, that's an example of manners. And then you're there like, how on earth is that manners? I mean, you
Yeah.
know,
What
and
age are the kids? Are they like 10-ish, or are they a teenager, or is there
well, the girl Macy is 5.
okay, okay. So really impressionable
And
still,
then right,
very innocent.
and very obedient, and
Yeah,
especially when I had the privilege of hanging out with friends at military bases and stuff,
yeah,
the family units are really tight.
they are.
The communities are also very tight. Like if someone is having a baby, then everyone doesn't no one no questions asked. I mean, someone's knocking on your door, they're giving you diapers, they're giving you clothes that their kids grew out of and stuff. I mean, it reminded me of communities sort of the way they used to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
My wife she was born and raised in Virginia for a while. Oh, she was there for what, 10 years, 10 year East Coast for 10 years. And she's talked about all that stuff when they were on the naval bases. Her dad was in the Navy, and they'd have barbecues, they'd have whole
Yep.
bike groups, just her and her other friends would ride off base, like literally a little get ice cream across the street, and the guards would make sure they come back and they'd be
Yeah,
communicated with the parents, and the parents would watch each other's kids, and it was
right,
very much a trustworthy place to be. Barbecues every Saturday
right.
in the summer, taking kids to the lake, and just really that good wholesome community feeling.
Yeah, I mean, the like the bases that I went to, especially when I lived in like South Dakota, everyone knew their neighbors,
Yeah.
and everyone was, neighbors helped neighbors. I mean, if someone's tire was busted, then everyone just helped each other out. And yes, there were the communal barbecues,
Hmm.
and there were taking turns of babysitting, and or the mothers who sort of joint babysit and
Yeah.
hang out together and stuff at the same time.
Hmm.
It really was just very impressive in terms of community.
Hmm. Yeah, like I said, the old way of doing it, and hopefully, I know COVID kind of threw a rock at the glass window with that one, and so I think social media has taken a good chunk of it too, where we've kind of separated a little bit. But I'm hoping that as time progresses and we yearn for more, human communication, that starts to mend, if you will. So more,
No, I'm in agreement with you. I think
yeah,
that there is something to be said for people just coming together.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Just one like mind, or just to enjoy each other's company, learn about each other. Because we can really good, we do a people do a really good job at dehumanizing others, until you actually get to know them. It's kind of crazy. We
right.
we make all these snap judgments and assessments when most of them are just based on our own bias. And until you actually get to know somebody, it's like, oh, they're actually really cool. Oh, that's
Yeah,
that's
totally.
kind of that's kind of neat. And I'm sure you use that same kind of bias when, like you said, the getting the new guy. Hope and dread. I love how you phrase that. That is so appropriate. So
Thank you.
appropriate. Yeah, I'm gonna use that. Hope and dread. It's because it's 100% true. You're gonna probably use that they're speculating about what this guy could be or what he couldn't be.
It's what I've experienced at so many like workplaces
Yeah,
and apartment buildings and stuff that you're just, you are hoping, but then you also know that
it could be really
uh-oh.
bad.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. We've all had those bad employees. We've all had those bad neighbors. We've all had really good neighbors. We've all had really great employees. Yeah, it's like, which one is it going to be? Is it going to cause me more pain and anguish, or is it going to
Yeah,
cause me
it's
some?
almost like someone gives you the envelope and they say, "Okay, open the envelope," and you're like, "But can't you tell me what's inside it before I open it, before I unleash it?" I mean,
I don't want the,
please.
yeah, just tell
Yeah.
me, am I
Yeah,
gonna
like
like
we're
this or
going to give
not?
you a box and a real nice, beautiful gift box. And you can, once you open it, it's going to be out there with you. So here's your gift box. Now open it. It's like, do
Mm,
you really, really want me to do that? Is there anything you could tell me about this?
yeah,
Is it
I want to
ticking?
mentally prepare myself before I actually open this thing up, because
Yeah.
I've had many times with coworkers. Oh, this person's so great. They're gonna make our lives better, and so they work this person up, and they get there, and it's just like, where is the delivery? That
Yeah.
was, you worked it up so hard high up in my head, and now it's fallen flat. So anyway, fun time. So okay, so trilogy is definitely a possibility. Two books, you've already killing it. Are after the base story is complete, do you plan on doing any other stories, or are you gonna hyper focus on the films and everything like that?
I would love to be a part of the films, not in front of the camera,
Sure.
but definitely I can, because I can see it in my head. I can sort of see how these
Directing.
scenes, yeah, like assisting or helping. I had a lot of fun buying the props for the cover shoot.
Oh yeah.
When I die, Amazon is going to put the flag at half mast. I mean, I'm just a little too good at shopping on that thing. Mr. Bezos knows me too well,
That's
but
so
I had a
fun.
lot of fun buying the props for the shoot.
Cool.
Hmm.
Cool. Yeah. Probably closet is full of just oddball props.
Well, when well, I had to have the costumes for the guys
Oh, of course.
to wear in the pictures, and then I wound up getting replicas of some of the insects that were featured prominently in the book.
A lot of little details.
So that was kind of fun, and it's interesting that those insect replicas, parents in other countries, that's what their kid is getting for the holidays or as a
Mm.
gift. I don't really see like American parents doing that. I think American parents are more about the electronics, like here's a PlayStation
Mm.
and stuff, but the entomology themed gifts like having a pillow that is just like a pill bug or otherwise known as potato bug and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them in Japan, a lot of
Really?
different ones, and that way you can teach your kid about bugs and give him
Oh
a
yeah.
pillow bug.
That's cool. Pillow bug. Pillow bug, pillow bug.
Like,
Anyway.
yeah, a pillow that is
Pillow bug.
identical replica of the bug and
That's
stuff.
so cool. Yeah. Roly polies. I think we call them roly polies over.
Yeah, yep, yep.
Yeah.
That
But
that particular bug is on all seven continents.
really?
And I was interviewed recently by someone in Australia, and he had read the book and he knows that particular bug is featured in the book, and he was telling me what they call it there. But it varies just a little bit in different places and stuff like that. But that's all seven continents. Everyone knows it, but there are hundreds of names for this thing.
Interesting. Yeah, I've always had them roly polies, then potato bugs came later, then pill bugs. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're as bad as cougars and pumas and mountain lions. Like that's the same animal. There's three names. I tried that. Pick one.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
pick one. Oh my God. That's yeah, the amount of just random information you probably have in your head right now from researching the variety of subjects is probably just you're like it's dizzying, I imagine.
Yeah, it did get to be to a point where I had to selectively narrow things down so I wouldn't, overwhelm a reader. I mean, just because like we creative folk walk around with our heads like exceptionally crowded doesn't mean that we have to do this to someone else.
True.
So
Yeah.
we and it also helps them to follow things when you're not introducing like 500 ideas. I mean, granted, I'm holding at this point right now, I'm holding couple of recipes in my head and a couple of storylines in my head. All these. You're a creative person,
Big.
but
Too many different ideas. Too many
yeah,
ideas.
very crowded consciousness. But that part was challenging for me to narrow it down and then weed it down so it was more streamlined,
Okay.
and so
Okay.
that way the story didn't get lost in all of the extraneous information that I
Yeah.
had accumulated.
Yeah. And I bet if it got hyper technical though, then you have the people that's like, whoa, you lost me. And then or you can even have people who is like super they dissect it a little too much. And it's like, we don't need to do that. Yes, the science is a part of the story, but it's the scientists we're focusing on. Like
Well,
that's
that was an aim of mine because I thought that if I overcomplicated, I would overcomplicated the science. I would make one person happy, my father, who who's a research scientist by trade and
sure,
everything
sure.
like
Yeah.
that. But I would, if you overcomplicate stuff, the your audience is just
You're gonna turn
going to
off.
sort of choke on that. It's not going to interest them how many big words you know and stuff. There has to be a plot. There has to be
It's
friction. There has to be suspense and stuff. And if you're just constantly throwing in like 8 syllable words, I mean, it's like, see ya.
like I didn't know this was a thesaurus. What is going on here?
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is a science textbook. What's going on? I think Crichton did that. Jurassic Park and all his books were very scientifically like had a lot of science in them,
right.
and it could get a little daunting reading through that. But it was just so it was tuned down enough that the general reader could understand and even believe some, obviously some of the pseudoscience, but there is some real science in there where they could kind of meld the two together to make it believable.
Mhm.
So that there is an art to it. There is absolutely an art to it. Too much detail is bad, but you want just enough.
Yeah.
Just enough. It's very Goldilocks and the Three
Mhm.
Bears kind of situation. All right, well, so I got to know where can we get copies of Base Book 1 and then look forward to Base Book 2 and then where can people, eventually go find your film eventually, hopefully soon.
Okay. The Base, if you go on Amazon.com and you type in The Base Dante, or Dante the Bass, you will be directed to the first book in the series, which is The Bass, Book One. So that is where it's being sold. My website is danteterese.com, and that's where eventually this interview is going to pop up.
Sweet.
And then Instagram, I am Dante Terese. That is Terese for the last name. That is also where links for this interview and this podcast will pop up. Yep. And that is that.
Cool, cool. And then I'm sure when they go onto your website, you'll get all the updates for up and comings and everything like that.
Yes.
All the cool news that's going to come out in the future.
Yep. Yes, indeed.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, Dante, thank you so much for coming and joining and talk with me for a solid hour. We've been killing it. We're doing so well today.
Wow.
I know. Time flies when you're having fun. That's all I can say. So, but thank you very much for coming on and talking about your book. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and you're very easy to talk to. I'm glad we got to, sort of butt brains together. Yep.
Yep. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And as going forward, as you get more stuff out and more cool things happen, like, the films are coming out and doing something exciting like that, and more
Yep.
books are out, just reach out and we can do this again.
Awesome. Much appreciated. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. All right, guys, definitely go check out Dante Terese and her wonderful works and be on the lookout for some cool films that are coming down the pipeline, which is pretty cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, stay mighty and keep reading.